Hi, this is Adam Eliel Berkowitz. I want to run an interesting idea past you, and I haven't worked it out fully, but it's something I was thinking about yesterday. Israel is really having a difficult political situation, people out in the streets. Um, and let me give you a little bit of background to this. I think when we learn the history of modern Israel, what we forget was Ben Gurion was an Eastern European socialist. And his entire approach to politics was that the first Knesset was not elected. The first Knesset was his friends who he appointed. He suppressed the Altalena. Was him suppressing any other military that actually might have helped Israel in the beginning, but he had to wipe them out, which was the entire basis. He was a power monger, which is why he was so anti Menachem Begin. And I think, therefore, it's not a surprise that in 1995, the Chief Justice Barak made a judicial reform that turned the Israeli judicial system into a judicial activist body that usurped and hijacked the elected political body. So the judicial system can rule on whatever they want, whenever they want, and they're not limited by a constitution. In theory, they're limited by the basic laws, but they're not. They even curtail the activities of the IDF at the expense of our security. They are absolutely, and they're self-appointing. They're cloned. So it doesn't change. So the judicial system in Israel is always a left-wing judicial activist body that can overrule the legislative body. And I think that does come from Ben Gurion. And to be honest, that's all a bunch of gobbledygook. Because I'm a simple Jew on a good day. And when I moved to Israel, I discovered it was also a statement of and a discovery that Judaism is not a religion. Christianity is a statement of faith. It's a matter of belief. Islam is a matter of obedience. It's actually only social control, social system, a political system, with a kind of veneer of religiosity and belief. Judaism is an interesting thing. We became a nation in service of God. Our relationship with God marked the beginning of and defined our nationhood. And that kind of got messed with by us being in exile, where Jews had no choice but to turn Judaism into a religion, which it is not. What other people call religion is what defines us as, what other people call a state is what defines us as religion. By that I mean you have like French food, French clothes, French language, French, all these aspects that are nationality for someone else. For us is our service of God. We have Jewish clothes, we have Jewish haircuts, we have our food is our connection with God. Our language is our connection with God. All these things that are for other people culture are for us nationality. But in the exile, all of the national aspects of our service of God got lost. And for a Jew, your connection to God is also defined by where you live. Living in Israel is because I serve God. Okay. It's not my national definition. It's my relationship with God. And I think that we are very reluctant to take the next step, which is to turn our nationality fully into a service of God, which is already described in the Bible. The political system, the judicial system, these should all be biblical. And that the knee-jerk reaction, the initial response is always, oh, that's primitive. And it's not. It's actually, in many ways, clearly more effective than what we currently have. For example, as Rabbi Hillel Weiss explained it to me, the biblical system, court system, is more democratic than the democratic judicial system. In its simple explanation, you will appoint courts of 10, courts of 50, courts of 100, courts of 1,000, and then you have the Sanhedrin, a Supreme Court of 71. And that's incredibly democratic. Anyone can get the court that they need. We have a system of Beit Din, a rabbinic court of 3. And you don't need a legal degree. People have to say, I really trust this guy. So that's the height of democracy. It's the democratization of the judicial process. And the interesting thing about the Supreme Court, the Sanhedrin, there's a lot of interesting things about that. The Sanhedrin was housed in the wall of the temple. So it was half in Kodesh, in the holy area, and half in Hol, half in the normal, not holy world, because it connected heaven and earth. It was supposed to be the connection of the profane and the holy, which I think in many ways the founding fathers of America hinted at. In God we trust, all that. There should be a level of sanctity, of channeling the holiness through the court system. And the way it's set up, the sages were arranged in a horseshoe pattern of several rows. There was the inner circle, the outer circle, and the outer circle. And they would be hearing cases. And if one of the people of the inner circle was unsure, if he said something that was inaccurate, someone from the outer circle would walk up, tap him on the shoulder, and say, "Excuse me, I got this one." And he would move to the inner circle. It's really an incredibly high level of meritocracy within the judicial. So I think the judicial system in Israel could be fixed if we started incorporating a biblical court system. Do I want a king? Actually, yes. But is that undemocratic? Oh, really not. There are many democracies in the world that also have a monarchy. And I was thinking about that and I'm wondering, well, how would that fit in with the Knesset? It would fix it. Why? When I was discussing this with someone, they said, the monarchy doesn't really have a function in a modern democracy. I look at England. The monarchs are figureheads. Well, in Israel, we already have that. It's called the president. The president is, in theory and in practice, or ideally in practice, an inactive figurehead who, after every election, he serves a minimal function, really minimal. And I couldn't help but wonder, when Israel was beset by, 4 or 5 elections in the space of a few years, that it could have been easily solved if we had a monarch. A monarch to walk in and really, the central figurehead, to really make seder, to make order out of chaos. It would have worked. Biblical. I'll give you another example. I think we have to rethink the biblical and look at the biblical as perhaps, yes, relevant to our political systems. For some reason, people are like, oh, you can't make this political and judicial and secular systems biblical. Well, they're not working. They're breaking down all over the world. We have to rethink that and realize that maybe biblical law is a good thing. Maybe not precisely as written, maybe not. But for example, I was surprised to discover that now I'm pro-slavery. Whoa, wait a second. Slavery was wrong when it was race-based. The essential truth behind slavery is I am a free man. I can do with myself as I wish. I can sell myself. The problem with slavery as it was in America is other people stole people from themselves and sold them based on race. That's horrible. I will oppose that with every fiber of my being. But as a father and a husband, if I find myself in inextricable financial straits, and there's a possibility for me to go out to the marketplace and say, hey, who wants to buy me? That's a great thing. And the Bible says, okay, if he's your slave, can't hit him, can't beat him, can't do anything like that. You got to take care of him and his family. They stay together. And after 7 years, he goes free. The Bible has no prison system. Prison systems are worse than slavery. Let me give you an example. I have a car. Someone comes along and steals my car. But I don't have theft insurance. I'm out the money. If they catch the guy, he goes to jail. But what if he can pay me back? Well, if he can't, even if he can pay me back, he goes to jail. What happens when he goes to jail? I'm out my car. He can't pay me back because he's in jail and he's not making money. His family is destroyed. Who wins? Who wins? And we have to pay to keep him in jail. But the biblical system, we catch him. He's got to pay me back twice or 3 times. He's got to pay me back. Not only does he pay me back, but if he can't pay me back, he has to sell himself into slavery. But he stays with his family. And when they say he paid his debt to society, he literally did. Someone who sits in jail is not paying their debt to society. I am pro-slavery. It would, in the Bible, there is no prison system. There is no prison. Well, there's a very extreme case in which there is. But that's a different story. It's connected to the death penalty. Death penalty. You have to have it, but you can't use it. Shouldn't use it. That's a different video. So in short, I think what we need to do is we need to take a step and look at the wisdom of the Bible, a wisdom that really connects with the very deepest aspects of what make us people in the image of God. And that should extend also to our judicial systems, to our political systems, to our politics, to what until now has been the secular bastion. It's become totally 1,000% sanitized of anything holy. And the political and judicial is where the rubber hits the road, where the holy becomes real. Torah is not just for synagogue, for something that you hide away in your house. Torah should also guide how we come together as a society. And I'm hoping that out of this horrible mess, the Jewish nation will again become a light unto the nations and show people that the Torah can be that. God willing, and let's see what comes tomorrow. Be blessed, y'all. Be blessed from the Golan. Be blessed from Israel.